Farm for Profit Podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm for Profit Podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm for Profit Podcast.
Welcome back to the Farm for Profit Podcast. This is Tanner.
This is Corey.
You know, this is the second time we've done this intro because the first time Corey said, why do you try different intros all the time?
Yeah, you know, I think Dave and I got in your head and said that your intros stink, but in reality, they were pretty good compared to what you've been trying.
Oh. So they do stink. Just everything else I've tried stinks even more.
Yeah. Turns out Tanner shouldn't try to be creative.
No creativity.
Just get to it.
Stick to the outline.
Yep. Just
ride with it.
Yep.
It is early harvest. Excited to hear from you guys, listeners. Appreciate all the feedback you give us. If you're sitting there holding the steering wheel, staring out a windshield, and you go, oh, that would be a really good conversation for Farm for Profit to have. Mm-hmm. You should send it to us.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can do that in multiple ways. You can email us at farmforprofitllc@gmail.com or text us 515-207-9640. Those are two good ways to do it, or just send us a DM on any social platform. Leave us a comment. We always love having that.
That's right. I was in a text exchange just a couple of nights ago with one of our listeners. I think I mentioned that we've got a top 10 states that our listeners come from. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I actually articulated the number of states. So we were going through that list, and that listener was from Wisconsin.
Okay.
Not in the top 10. So
really?
If you are from Wisconsin, you need to step your game up because the last year, all of 2024, Wisconsin was number 7.
You know why? I bet it's probably because we're lacking on the dairy content lately. I feel like we haven't done a dairy show for a long time.
We do need to do a dairy show. But listeners, if you think we should do that, just tell us.
Let us know.
Let us know.
Let's get to it.
Okay, was that enough of an intro for you?
Yeah, that's good.
Too long? That's probably too long for you. Mm-hmm. Excited to have this guest on, expert in the field. Get it? See what I did there?
I see.
Yeah.
At least you didn't use the outstanding.
Outstanding. I'm sure she would be outstanding in her field. We have the field marketing manager from Corteva Agriscience, Kylie Nodine, coming to us in our virtual studio. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, I am excited to be with you guys. How's it going?
It's great. As you can tell, we have zero fun on this show.
Yeah. I mean, Tanner said it is early harvest when this show airs, but we are actually recording this on the crop tour week, the controversial crop tour week, where we got all the yields from across a large portion of the Corn Belt. So looks like there's going to be a lot of grain out there, which is what everyone wanted when they went to go plant their seeds, right?
Always controversial. It's the internet is alive right now with commentary and experts in that field.
So do you get to spend much time in the field yourself before we get into your introduction?
I don't. No. I'm behind the computer screen most of the time, but I'm in close contact with our field teams.
Awesome. Well, let's let our listeners know a little bit about yourself. Tell us, did you grow up in agriculture? What'd your background look like?
Yeah, I did. So I actually live in Missouri, so, neighboring state to you all. But yeah, we are home for me. Grew up on a row crop, cow-calf operation. Left home, went to the University of Missouri, got an ag business degree, did a couple of internships with Cargill and all over the place doing different things. Actually thought I would go into like animal nutrition because that's what I did with Cargill, kind of feed sales, things to that perspective. And ironically enough, when I went into like the fall of my senior year, Cargill was on a hiring freeze and they were like, oh, well, there's not really a lot we can do for you right now. Like, get back to us. And, I was like, well, I can't wait. So went to the career fair. Obviously, Pioneer has a long-standing reputation. Family had planted it, all that good stuff. Talked to them. Long story short, ended up getting full-time employment with Pioneer at the time. And so I have been with the company for 15 years now in several different capacities. But I actually moved to Illinois and was a Pioneer production agronomist for Illinois up in like North Central, Quad Cities area. Met my husband, drug him back to Missouri about 3 years later, poor guy. And I'm just kidding. But Yeah. And so we're back. My husband and I have farm ground and are, active from that perspective as well. But it's always been in my roots. It's always been something that I've wanted to do and is very important to me, and something I advocate for every day and love being involved in it.
Harvest season is here, and so is your competitive advantage.
That's right. The Estes XPR3 concaves are a total game changer. Think one concave, all crops, no bands, no switching. From wheat to corn, soybeans, you're rolling non-stop. Backed by their patented technology with 250% more threshing surface, you get cleaner grain, fewer fines, and beast-level capacity, all without trading combines.
If you're interested, visit EstesPerformanceConcaves.com to upgrade your combine today. Estes XPR3, harvest smarter, faster, and better. So when you were you in the field for Pioneer then as an agronomist?
Yeah, so I was a production agronomist. So I was mainly working with like our soybean seed producers in that north central Illinois area. And then when we moved back to Missouri, I actually switched over to the crop protection side of the business at that point and spent probably about 10 years in the field in different territories and capacities as like a field representative, if you will. That was with DuPont. And then obviously we had the merger and merged into a Corteva perspective. But yeah, I was in the field up until about 2 years ago when I transitioned into like a marketing role at that point. So spent the majority of my field boots on the ground, outstanding in a field. Here you go. Yeah. But yeah, lots of field experience and working alongside. And I also think that us having some farm ground ourselves and having grown up around it continues to keep me really grounded in, hey, here's what's kind of going on. We're experiencing this real life. I understand what our budget looks like and, all of that good stuff. And I think it really helps keep me grounded as I, transition into this marketing capacity and working from this angle.
Well, you'll be happy to hear that I met with my production agronomist for Corteva 2 days ago. So getting ready for bean harvest. So we do a little bit of seed beans for Corteva as well. So wish I could get more. So if you could, use your connections to say, hey, Corey Hillebo needs a few more seed acres, because there's not a lot of profit in corn or beans now. So especially beans. So it's really trying to find some profitability there.
Yeah, it was, what was wild though, is like, so I grew up in Southwest Missouri and our average yields are not near what they are up in Iowa and where we lived in North Central Illinois. But it was always funny to me to know what I grew up around from like a practices average yield perspective, and then move up to North Central Illinois and work along with my seed growers up there. Just a very different world and environment. But yeah, I really enjoyed that role a lot. I mean, it's, you see a lot of the experimental varieties and things like that before they even come into full production. And so it was a pretty foundational part of getting my career up and going.
Yeah, I always give our buddy Chris Schick in Illinois. I feel like those guys in Illinois, I don't know what it is, if it's the weather, the soil, or what. Like, I feel like they can grow soybeans better than we can. I mean, we can rival them on some corn, but man, I think they could just go broadcast spread soybeans and grow 90 bushel. It's like, gosh, it's some good ground.
I do feel like the further east we go on our ground, the beans get better.
Really? Yeah.
And that's
only you get into Marshall County, and for some reason, and Tama, they can grow crazy good beans. So
I feel like if anyone in Illinois hears this and recognizes me, I'm like, I have to like preface this with like, you guys were great. Like, I really enjoyed working with you. And I did, but I'd always give them a hard time because I'm like, yeah, you guys are upset because you had a bad year and your beans made like 60 bushels. And meanwhile, they're in a drought back home and are happy that they made 30. Type of thing. It's all perspective. It's just part of it, right? So
well, I got a fun question for the two of you, since you probably each had pickups or do have pickups. I went through a task twice this summer that I didn't plan on doing, and I had to take everything out of my truck. Everything out of the cab of my truck.
It's because of the Dave cheese debacle. And our other co-host Dave left a half-open or an opened, half-eaten block of cheese from a road trip in like February in the pocket of his back truck, the back seat of his truck.
Or
I don't know if it was on purpose.
No.
I mean, it's kind of like Dave to just randomly eat something and leave
Not
it.
finish it.
I mean, he's kind of
Okay.
like a child in like, if you have kids, like you get it, like you find a half-eaten fruit snack in the backseat. Like, what the heck?
Yeah. So during this the second time, I'm curious, if you took everything out of your truck, what are the first 3 things you would put back in it?
Ooh. So my truck is like my mobile office, and like if I have to have people in the back seat, like I have to spend 10 minutes cleaning it out.
yeah, same.
And because I like to have everything. Is it going to be rainy? Is it going to be hot? Is it going to be cool? Have my drone.
So the first 3 things, if you took everything out of it because you had to scrub and scrub and scrub everything, what are the first 3 things you'd put back in it?
Kylie, otherwise I can go first.
I think I could wing it. I'm smiling because my husband is going to crack up when he hears y'all asking me this, because we are so opposite when it comes to this. My husband's vehicle is immaculate, at all times. I mean, almost OCD clean, right? And mine is like yours, Corey. It's let me shove everything to the side so you can get in the back. It's not horrible, but I kind of live out of it. I would say my umbrella, very underrated thing to have in your vehicle, by the way. I also have this little handy thing from Amazon that can jumpstart or jumpstart your truck, air up a tire, can charge your phone. If you get into an accident type of a thing, I would put that back in. And then, you guys are going to laugh, but hand sanitizer, gas pumps, shaking people's hands, probably hand sanitizer.
That's pretty good.
And my gas card, that's 4, but I got to have my gas card too.
And that could be in your wallet, I guess.
Yeah, it goes in your,
Yeah. So
I would say. That's a total guy thing to say. It's definitely not in my wallet.
Mine would be cell phone charger. Definitely need a cord for that. That's, if I don't have that throughout the day and I'm using my phone quite a bit, I would be my phone will be dead by 2 or 3 o'clock. My drone would probably go back. I always have that thing with me. Seems like something I always need to have. And then there's a lot of things that, you said umbrella. I always have a rain jacket. But I don't think I'd throw that back in first. I think it'd be my California duster, my mini California duster. I just started having one of them. I've kept those in the combine cab for years now, and I got the mini version. Yeah. And my truck stays so much cleaner because if I'm stopped for something or waiting for someone, I just kind of give it a quick dust around, and it looks cleaner. It's not decluttered, but looks cleaner. Yeah.
I took a note when I was doing this for the second time, which you rode with me yesterday. I did a good job.
Yeah, it didn't smell anymore.
Yeah.
At least not like moldy cheese.
No,
that's right.
It was bad.
The second time that I put everything back in, the first 5 things I put in were jumper cables, my ice scraper for my windshield, my California duster. And then when I went to the front seat, I put my cell phone charger cord in and my container of cashews.
I was going to say yours would have been your container of nuts and your container of Skittles.
I'm a snacker, Kylie.
I'm a snacker too, but down here, the Skittles would all turn into one large Skittle if it's hot.
That's fair.
So
that's fair.
I would have said phone charger too, but my truck actually has a spot that you can set your phone and it charges it. It's down, it's in the console. It's weird, but I'm with you on the phone charger. That's critical.
I can't do that because I have a magnet on the back of my phone, so I can use this.
Oh, yeah, that won't work.
No, but
no, that's funny. I just had a flashback during this conversation of, our listeners are probably hauling grain, and it is one of my favorite pastimes to be going down a 4-lane highway and watching those folks that you either pass or pass you, just to see how much shit they have in the passenger seat or in their back seat.
Yeah.
Everybody's.
Yeah. Mine's not as bad as it used to be. When I was in the field every day, I lived out of that thing, and it was never so bad that a customer couldn't get in. I at least kept it clean enough from that perspective, but it definitely is not up to my husband's standards and how he keeps his truck. So
Yeah, we've all seen those people that nobody ever rides with them because there are so many wrappers or mail or whatever in that passenger seat. It is just, if you open the passenger door, it'd be an avalanche.
I had a customer that like you would open the door and like Casey's pizza things would just like fall out of the door, right? Like in the breakfast sandwich containers always. I'm like, dude. He's like, well, I just throw it over there when I'm done. No big deal.
Yeah. I love the guys that store their mail on their dash and then why their defroster doesn't work.
Yeah. Or why they're late on their bills.
I know I've got that up there. It's on the dash. Yeah. Well, sorry. Thanks for playing along with me. I just, it was one of those things that had popped in my mind. I was like, I wonder what would people put, maybe we should play that game more often. We'll see. But we're here to talk about the importance of having partners in the field. And I think there's been a lot of interesting things that happened this year. Of course, right here in our backyard, if you go backyarditis, we've had a lot of rain, which has put us in a position to have a lot of disease.
Oh, yeah.
And even though we're recording this towards the end of August and airs in the middle of September, Corey was telling me he watched a couple of videos of some silage choppers that were running, and they were no longer the color they were manufactured in.
Yeah, the John Deeres were turning almost an orange.
Kubota orange.
Kubota orange, yeah. A lot of southern rust is what we're dealing with here, and I know Nebraska's dealing with that, and well, obviously everyone south too. So that, it's gross. My lawnmower is orange. Even my grass has southern rust. So, which isn't the only disease out there, but it's certainly the one that you can see with your eyes. So I'm thinking we're going to have a lot of cabin air filters and engine air filter blowouts during harvest. So keep those clean.
But even in your role right now, Kylie, as behind the computer screen, you're supporting agronomists that are in the field all over the place, right?
More the sales team, but as you guys know, like on the crop protection side of the business, like our territory managers really kind of function in both of that business and technical space. And so really kind of just helping to support and enable, our sales teams to get out there and make sure that they can do what they do best.
So walk us through a typical season for you, some of the issues that you're seeing and how you're helping the field team along.
Sure. Yeah. So I always kind of laugh when people ask me like, what do you do? Like, what does your role entail? Because it's kind of a hodgepodge to a certain extent. And I could probably ramble for like 20 minutes about what all I do. Best way I can describe what the field marketing manager role is from like a Corteva crop protection perspective. So I support 2 sales areas. And so that's Missouri, Kansas, Colorado, Oklahoma, the western half of Texas, and New Mexico. And a big part of what I do is really kind of acting as like a liaison between like the sales teams out in the field and our corporate marketing team that sits in Indianapolis. And just really making sure that, the people who are making the decisions on programs, pricing, supply, pipeline, all of that good stuff, right? That they have a really good representation of what the field is going through, what our customers are saying, what the industry is saying, trends, weather, all of that good stuff, right? And then vice versa, making sure that our field teams also understand why we make the decisions that we do from, a program's pricing supply standpoint. When I was in the field, and I was in the field for a long time, we kind of talked about that, but it was really easy to be like, oh, those people sitting in a cube don't know what's going on out here in the field, and things like that. And so that's a pretty critical part of my role, is making sure that we are represented to the folks that are making a lot of the decisions that truly end up enabling and allowing the sales teams to go be successful, and which ultimately leads to our farmers and our retailers being successful as well, right? And so you're talking about fungicides and diseases, and so a big part of what I do and the role that I play is listening to our sales teams. Southern rust is popping up everywhere, but it's always funny because the further south you get, if it shows up late, it almost acts as a harvest aid at that point rather than detrimental. And sometimes it's just too late to spray and not worth it, versus you get up in your world and it's like, yep, we've got yield loss on the table. Like we need to make a decision here. Right. And so really just making sure, like we think about fungicide specifically, keeping a pulse on what our field teams are experiencing, conversations with customers. Yep, we're going to have a good fungicide run. No, doesn't look like we are. I think you're talking about there's, financials go into a lot of these decisions too, right? That's a big part of what I do as well is gathering kind of information from our teams and taking that back to really understand like, hey, this is why farmers are making the decisions that they are when it comes to the products that they're selecting, whether it's performance, price, specific diseases, plant health, and then making sure that like our portfolios and programs align to that too. So it's a lot.
It is a lot. How does Southern Rust become a harvest aid further south?
Well, I'm probably going to get totally criticized in the comments for saying that. But I mean, we've had it. It's probably kind of a redneck thing to say, let's be real. But I mean, like a lot of times if it comes in really late at that point, like you're already past the point of it really affecting yield, and it just goes ahead and starts kind of taking things down, if you will, like from a die
and dry.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So it's just, I mean, there is a point when it's not worth spraying at that point because your yield's not going to be affected because it's so late. You all typically probably don't experience that as much up north as we do the further south you get because of how much earlier corn gets planted, the further south you get. But yeah.
I had it when I was a Pioneer employee on the impact side. I think in 2012, it was really dry that year, but I think we had it show up. Is it 2012 or 11, somewhere in there? And that was my first experience with it. And yeah, we really haven't had it in droves like this since then. And, I think this is the first I've ever heard anyone spraying twice around here. I've heard that out on the Eastern Corn Belt for like tar spot and stuff, but the guys that sprayed early, more of that VT time frame, they were the ones that were like, oh crap, this stuff's coming in pretty hard. And they did another application. And I actually waited for brown silk just because I really wasn't seeing anything there. And we couldn't get across the field. So we were just trying to wait to get across the field with our ground rigs, and it never quit raining. So then we hired drones, and I felt like we sprayed late enough, even though the Southern Rust was coming. We had a study, I think it's from Iowa State University, that was kind of giving you time frames on R4 or R5. Like if you get to dent, like it's not worth spraying for Southern Rust anymore. And so we just made the decision not to spray again.
It is kind of neat. I still remember talking to Ron Geis, one of your cohorts.
Oh, Ron.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
Everyone gives that same reaction when we say his name. What does Ron do?
Quick sidebar. When I first switched over, like when we moved from Illinois to Missouri, when I switched over from Pioneer to crop protection, Ron and I were teammates. And he was like a mentor for me for quite a while. I think he's been everyone's mentor because like he is that guy. But yeah, I've got a lot of time for Ron. I enjoyed listening to his podcast that you guys did with him. It was pretty comical. So
yeah, he just helped, and you're helping as well, share the perspective that even though Corteva is a large company, you're doing a lot to keep your pulse or your finger on the pulse of what's happening. Yeah. When he was going on vacation and all of a sudden the phone calls started ringing about what we should be doing for disease, you're doing the same thing with your territory, really kind of trying to keep tabs on what's been going around. So we talked early in this show about the Pro Farmer Crop Tour happening right now. What's Kylie's crop tour look like here middle of August? What have you been seeing in your territory?
Yeah, so I think we kind of talked about this. I don't physically get out as much as I used to when I was in sales. I'm behind the computer screen and on the phone a lot. But yeah, so I think if you think about the geography that I support in the sales team, like talk about diversity, right? I mean, you're Missouri all the way to Colorado, Western Texas, Oklahoma. It's pretty unique in a lot of ways. Overall, corn, soybeans, and wheat are the three like main crops they're consistent across that entire geography, but cotton comes up pretty substantially, especially when we get into West Texas, right? And then what's been interesting is like we have some pockets of sugar beets out in Colorado and things like that. And obviously growing up in Missouri, never been exposed to that, but I digress. It's all over the board. We had pockets where the wheat crop was not great and pockets where it was pretty good. And we had a lot of cotton that was out, and we had some pretty hellacious hailstorms roll through, and that crop was no more. So it's been pretty Western, for lack of better words. But like you guys, we've had a lot of rain, which has been a little bit of a change of pace for a lot of this geography because it's been pretty drought ridden for a couple of years now. So the corn crop, and I'm probably going to we're going to have someone in the comments that's going to be like, I live in Western Kansas and my corn does not look great. Like, what are you talking about? But overall, corn crop looks pretty dang good with all the rain that we've had. But we do have some pockets of prevent plant from like a soybean perspective, just because we had so much rain and because we plant beans so much later than you guys do up north. But the beans that got in look pretty dang good too. So I don't know.
I would have never thought that prevent plant would have been anything south of here.
I
never
know.
even crossed my mind like that.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, listen, we plant, with double crop beans and, all that good stuff. We have guys that'll plant soybeans well into, first part of July in a lot of situations. And, but we've had, again, a lot of rain that's just kept people out of the field, but everything else looks pretty darn good. But you never know until harvest comes around, right? Like,
yeah,
you guys know that well. Things can look pretty great until you get out in the field and get the combine rolling. So we'll see, but I'm pretty optimistic overall.
Yeah.
Well, we always like to try and give our listeners cheat codes or secret tips that nobody else gets to know. So when you're working with your team in the field, what can our listeners do to maximize that resource? Like, is there a secret of you must bring chocolate brownies when you visit or something that is like a for sure going to work?
Is there a non-chocolate brownie?
It's
I mean, touche. That's a good
you can have
point.
a blonde brownie.
A blondie.
That would be like a
That's the
cookie bar.
A
right?
cookie bar. Boy, you really put me on my heels for that one.
No, you bring lemon bars.
Oh.
Oh.
You want extra out of me, do not bring lemon bars.
Oh my gosh, those are my husband's favorite.
I
Wow.
love those too.
Yeah. But, well, I mean, like, funny, you guys are on the talk about desserts. I never knew what a scotcheroo was until I moved to
This
Illinois.
interview's been great. We'll talk to you next time.
Yeah, I never knew what they were until I moved to Illinois. I love them. Maybe you don't, but yeah. So anyways, random.
Now, I want the
random
chocolate to Rice Krispie ratio to be closer to 50-50 as possible. I don't need the tall Rice Krispies with the thin chocolate. I want
I like
I'm
more.
more of the I want the peanut butter in there.
Oh, that's true. Gooier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want a dry scotcheroo.
No.
Nobody wants that.
No.
Bunch of
Anyway.
critics on here.
So how did we get on to desserts?
Yeah,
From
sorry. Welcome to life with Kylie. Like,
So
plural.
what's the scotcheroo equivalent of Missouri?
We just have Rice Krispies. I don't know. I mean,
I didn't know if there was a dessert like that's a
something
common.
that's like,
Yeah. What does everybody bring to their potlucks?
oh man.
Probably pie.
I mean, we do have a lot of pie down here. Yeah. I don't know. Now you kind of put me on the spot here.
Was watching, I can't remember what the name of the show was. Was watching that with my brother-in-law and the husband and wife where she was trying to apologize. So she made a bunch of pie that he could pie her in the face with. And they continued to do that. And I'm just sitting there going, that is such a waste of such good pie. Why did we bake all these pies to give an option?
I thought those were always just like whipped cream.
No, these were legit for the show.
Oh.
Legit pies. I'm like, now I want a piece of cherry pie.
Yeah.
So
We
I'm not going cherry.
have a lot of pecan pie down here for what that's worth. A lot of pecans.
So yes,
Anyways.
we are way off the rails.
Yeah.
What what is the cheat code to make those folks that you're overseeing do more for our listeners when they get together?
That's a good question. We've been talking a lot about harvest coming up. It's wild to think that we're talking about harvest and that it's here. But I was thinking about this the other day, and harvest is crazy. It's stressful. It's hopefully successful, right? But I think about one thing that the listeners could tap into, and that could be a continued working together type of effort. Is I'm a big voice notes gal on my phone. I don't know if you guys like voice notes at all. I know I drive my coworkers and friends crazy with my voice notes. But I think you have the bird's eye view in the combine, right? When you're driving through the field and got that auto steer working for you. So you got plenty of time to be able to take notes on your phone. But I think that that's a perfect time to think about how well did your weed control work? You're going to be able to see out there if you've got weeds and grass, right? Talked about disease control. Is your combine orange at this point, or is it less orange than your neighbors? And just thinking about how what you did it work? Did it not? And I think the same thing can go for your hybrids and your varieties as well. And just, hey, maybe I'd like to try something a little bit different on this field, or this worked out really well. Take really good notes during harvest, get through the craziness and the stress of it. And then while it's fresh, that's a perfect time to sit down with your seed rep or your Corteva crop protection territory manager and have a discussion while it's fresh on your mind. Hey, this worked, this didn't. I want to try something different. What does Corteva have that fits in this space that I'm looking for? We've had several new products come to market here just within the last year that we're really excited about. And, it seems early to be thinking about all of that in October. But I think if you can lay that foundation at that point, kind of get your head wrapped around a little bit of a game plan, you've got that set. Then you come back during that prepay time, December, January, wherever your financials fall, right? And really get that dialed in and get a plan for 2026 really executed at that point. I think that's really where, whether it's our seed representatives or our crop protection territory managers, I think that's really where we can come into play and really help, our farmers be successful, is just having a conversation and understanding, again, what worked, what didn't, what do you want to change? What are you doing different in your farming operation this next year so we can align to that and be successful together?
Meet Maya Cornheads, built better for over 40 years to power through down corn, high yields, and tough fields without flinching.
These durable, low-maintenance heads mean less downtime, less grain loss, and more profit per acre. They have the option for down corn attachments or direct-driven chopping. They ensure that your combine will move smoothly, fast, and full at all times.
Don't just harvest your fields, conquer them. Visit MayaCornheads.com to find the dealer near you.
Do you take notes during harvest?
I'm normally in the semi. I tell my dad to send me either text or whatever on hybrids, because that is one of the best times to evaluate hybrids on. Yeah. Obviously yield, but there's a lot of other aspects of, are the ears turned down? Are they drop? You see some on the ground, or is the stalks leaning at all? That's
what the yield monitor doesn't show.
No, it doesn't show that kind of stuff, which, it might yield really good, but if there's a lot of ears that are starting to slip on the ground, hey, that might be something we, don't want to plant, or if we do plant it, that's one of the first ones we want to get to type of situations. The logistics of farming is what I always say. So that is the stuff that the yield monitor doesn't show you. I've got go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to just say, I got a two-part question when thinking about 26 and beyond, since you are the liaison between the field and the corporate side. What
Make
are
seed cheaper? Oh,
well, sorry. I wasn't gonna.
All right, we're done.
If you want to do that, so what is a product or a tactic that is rising above expectations or thriving, and what is a gap that you could see that needs filled for your customers?
Yeah, you guys are making me put my technical hat on here. I've been so in the throes of business planning and forecasting and all of that good stuff, and you guys are making me put my my technical hat back
if you're
on.
Forecasting, right? You should be forecasting more of what's working, right? So
you betcha. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's been kind of interesting because I mean, like you guys know this, and like I know this as well with my husband that a lot of times we do have big ideas, but also like our farm budget and financials have to align to that too, right? Like we've got to make sure we have good ROI and that it really makes sense based off of what are our average yields, what are we putting into this, what are we getting out of it, and so it really varies. Like when we look across different geographies. You talked about beans doing really well as you move further east, and the better yields you have, depending on what kind of inputs you're putting in on the backside, you might have a little bit more disposable income, if you will, to invest in some things that are a little more premium. And so I think it just really depends from that perspective. But a couple of the things that I do think are really sticking out is folks are realizing that, like I talk about soybeans specifically, you have to have a pre-down. Like that is absolutely critical. We have folks who have gotten away without it and like have in the past have managed really kind of just really blowing it out of the water in the post trip the best that they could. We lose so many different actives and tools once the beans are up, right? And we're really kind of past that point in the majority of the soybean growing areas. And so we're finding folks that are really having a lot of critical conversations around like, what does that pre need to look like? What am I looking for out of it? What can I spend in that space as well? And we've put a lot of effort from a Corteva perspective in really filling the gaps within the portfolio that we have to make sure that we've got something all the way up in that super premium space where folks are asking for it, all the way down to that mid-tier space as well, and just making sure that we really have something for everyone from that angle.
Yep, that's a good comment. Before you get into your next one, I remember it was probably the end of July, and I was driving down the road with Corey, and I said, "Boy, I feel like the beans look cleaner this year." Mm-hmm. And he said, "Just wait."
Yep.
Yeah.
Just wait. There was a really good environment for those weeds that escaped to start poking through, and he was right. I feel like now. You can see where those escapes came from.
Well, I think you can start telling where the residual maybe in the second pass, or maybe it was a less premium pre that farmer skimped on, which I'm not judging them for this year because the margins are tight and soybean chemistry is expensive. But you can really start to pick out which fields got a better product or got a product, and like I'm really happy when we went from 20-inch to 30-inch beans. That was the biggest scare. Was I'm worried about closing the row and getting the row shaded. And we have had really good, but we've layered our residuals, and it's this year. Sometimes we're like, man, I don't feel like we got the value out of it. But with all the rain this year, I felt like they kept getting reactivated and had good success.
Well, isn't it like, I always thought it was like kind of funny. I feel like, you guys are farmers and I feel like we get to have amnesia a lot of times on stuff, and like we forget how well things did sometimes. And so I think like you kind of just sparked something there for me. And it's like, maybe in the past you would have, spent extra money on something and it didn't get an activating rain. And so you're like, well, like it didn't work, type of a thing. But then you forget how the year or two before that, it worked really damn well. Right. And it was worth the investment. I think a lot of times we think about that from a fungicide perspective as well. It's, fungicides, those extras are the first things that get cut out when people are starting to look at how do I, tighten up my budget. And I think we forget about, we may have 1 year where we didn't get quite the ROI that we were hoping for on some of this stuff. But what happened the 3 years before that when you were getting the ROI out of the investment? And so I think we're like really quick to have amnesia in a lot of those situations whenever it comes to things like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. In this area, you can see some of the folks that when they sprayed fungicide on their soybeans, maybe put a little active weed killer in there. You can see some of the, I don't know how effective it's going to be. You can see them starting to wilt over, but it is interesting to see what everybody put together. But now I don't know if you're going to be able to remember clear back to when I cut you off, the second thing you were going to say.
I think we were talking what is maybe some gaps that we would like to see from the field.
Yeah. Well, I think you kind of went there, Corey, and it's like that overlapping residual in a lot of situations, right? And making sure that you're doing it timely, not waiting until you see 6-inch tall weeds and then hoping that things work. But because I think a big part of a successful like weed control herbicide program is obviously, the best thing you can do is get product down before the weeds are even up. But if you have stuff that's up, you have to make sure you're using it right so you get the weeds and the grasses that are up killed. Otherwise, you're just fighting an uphill battle at that point. But that's been a big thing that from a soybean perspective, we're talking about overlapping residuals. Like, hey, when you're going out and spraying your enlist, make sure that you have, a residual in with it so that we're just keeping that momentum. From a corn perspective, trying to get a lot of folks to transition from 1 pass programs to 2 is a big conversation that we're having. We have a lot of guys that still have pretty good luck with those 1 pass programs, but those are the first ones to fall apart when we get a ton of rain or don't get an activating rain. And so that's a big conversation that a lot of our teams are having with customers is like, hey, how do we move to that 2-pass program from a corn perspective as well? Again, leading to that overlapping residual type of conversation. I think folks can kind of get away with it because we still have a lot of post actives in corn that still work really well. But we're getting to a point where we need to start transitioning that too, right?
Yep. Are you getting any comments from the field on resistant weeds that are still coming?
I mean, isn't that the tale as old as time?
Yeah, it does. I mean, but yeah. I feel like I haven't heard it as much in the last year or two. And I don't know if that's just because there's other shiny things that we're looking at. But I mean, I know water hemp around here, it seems to drink Roundup for breakfast. So,
I think there's parts of Missouri where we have water hemp that's resistant to a lot of things at this point. And in fact, I'm pretty sure it's documented. So yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Corey. Like I probably haven't heard it as much this year in conversation as I have in the past, but it's definitely something that's still on our radar. You talked about Ron Geis. So Ron is a market development specialist, an MDS that we call. I kind of consider them the agronomists of our crop protection teams. And a big part of what they do is working with like extension and universities and putting plots out themselves, but having those conversations around like what our industry folks are seeing when it comes to like a resistance space, and then bringing that back and helping our teams put together recommendations for our customers that are going to help combat that. Because what we find is like we may have water hemp that's resistant to glyphosate, for example, but it's not always resistant whenever you have multiple modes of action in with it. It's still very effective when you have glyphosate and enlist, glyphosate and name your product, right? And so that's a big part of a lot of what our teams are doing in that resistance space, is just helping to make sure that we're continuing to keep an eye on it. And again, multiple modes of action, really tailoring things to what our customers are needing.
It's nice to hear that there's a systems approach and you guys have so many of these like Ron in place to help, the retailers and growers out in the field. So it seems to be like a well-oiled machine.
We try. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's our MDSs are such a critical part, just like your pioneer agronomist or name your agronomist that you have, right? They're such an integral part of your team. And I say team, whether that's the Corteva corporate team or that's, hey, you're a farmer and you need that team of people that you can rely on and go to for recommendations, technical support, and you're going to get solid advice and recommendations from them. And one thing that, I think that our teams are really good about is, I'm biased. I think we have some of the best portfolios in the industry, right? But like everyone has a gap here and there. And there are things that other people have that when you put it together with our stuff, make things that much better. And again, with the farmer in mind, making the farmer successful. And I think our teams do a really good job of that too.
it's been a fun partnership to explore these different avenues and get to talk to these different people within the Corteva umbrella all throughout this year. It's been neat to kind of pull back the curtain. That's too bad. That's a terrible cliche, but it really is, to see how many experts there are, how many points of contact our listeners have, the ability to try and help change or at least provide input for the future.
Yep.
So as we wrap up our conversation for today, what's one or two or whatever last things that you want to share with our audience before we close out?
Yeah, great question. We already talked about it, but I don't, Tanner asked you, Corey, like, do you take notes during harvest? I don't know that a lot of people do. And so maybe it's just something to keep in mind as you go into harvest, is just keeping notes and then really making an effort to sit down and have those early conversations to get ready for 2026. And just really, becoming an well-oiled machine from that perspective. I would just say, like, our teams are always looking for how can we make our customers more successful. And so, having that interaction and that candor and that communication, whether it's your seed rep or your retailer that's working with our territory managers, just really having that connection and giving them feedback. What do you need from us? What can we do better? How can we help you be successful? I think those are really good call outs. And then ultimately, if you ever have questions, obviously you can go to our website, Corteva.com, and anything you need is on there. But I would tell you that your local resources are your best avenue, because they know the territory, they know the area, they know what's going on, and they're going to be able to tailor everything really to what you guys need.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know if I give you a chance for one last comment, I need to give Corey a chance, because I always cut him off when he's got like 3 or 4 questions left.
I was just going to tell when she said, what do you need? Well, I need cheaper chemistry. And
here we go. Here we go. Yeah. I opened the door on that one, didn't I?
Right, and new chemistry. At some point, we need some new stuff. So that's my comments.
Hey, you've been heard.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know, like quick sidebar. I totally agree with you. And that's something like Corteva is really focused on is, for every like dollar that we bring in, there's a certain percentage of that goes back into the research bucket. And it's a pretty heavy, percentage of it that goes back in. And when I say research bucket, it's both crop protection and seed, right? And just making sure that we're continuing to be advancing as much as we can. You guys have probably heard it before. Maybe Ron even told you, but it takes a long time to get new actives to the marketplace. And
I think Eric Schurter told us that.
Oh, yeah. Schurter. Yes. Yeah. I forgot you guys talked to Schurter. Yeah.
One replies that way too, to Schurter.
Yeah.
I got their own reply. I love it.
Yeah. I met him, saw him somewhere. Saw him at the golf course the other day, and then also met him at the stop sign in the pickup. Yeah. The man's everywhere.
He and like him and Ron both get up at like literally the crack of dawn. It's wild. Yeah. They're two really important individuals in our company.
Ron has to, because it takes him 3 hours to make bacon for breakfast.
Yeah.
Yes.
I found out that he broke his oven after our episode.
I was literally telling someone the other day, we were talking about Ron, because he's such a great resource. Like, he really is. And we were talking about it, and it was one of our folks that is in Indianapolis, and, they're an hour ahead of time. And so, when it's 8:00 their time, it's 7:00 here. And they were talking about how Ron sent them an email at like 4 a.m. our time. Might have been earlier than that. And they were like, what does this man do? And I was like, you didn't know? Ron gets up at like 3:00 in the morning every day and starts his day. And they were like, what? I said, but don't worry, he goes to bed between like 7 and 8. So like he gets enough sleep.
Yeah.
It's
I
pretty
think it'd be really fun sometime to get all these guests that we've had on, and even probably the ones we're going to get to meet, put you all in a room together, set up our 10 microphones, and do just a story roundtable. You all cross over, you all been there for forever. And I know you've all got those same reflections on each other.
A roast.
Ooh,
a roast.
that'd be dangerous.
That would be funny.
I mean, Yeah, especially shorter. Like we could definitely roast shorter. Like absolutely. Yeah. That's so funny.
Fun. Well, we appreciate you playing along with us. I know we threw you for a loop a couple of times and completely went off track even more times. So thanks for hanging around, playing along, and riding the ride with us.
Yeah.
It's been fun. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Listeners, you too. This one went off the rails quite a bit, but we appreciate all of you. We hopefully you found some value in this, and take your notes because it's going to pay off no matter who you work with. So
it's also good to take notes. Like if you're in the combine, on your combine, if something like needs to be fixed, like keep
we actually had that the other day. We sent the combine through, had its service, made sure everything's going to take care of before the warranty runs out.
Yep.
And then drove it home, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I forgot that about every 4 miles I make a full rotation of the steering wheel because it's pulling one direction."
Oh,
well, you don't find that in shop when you're just doing a check.
Right.
It's like, take your notes.
Yeah,
that's right.
I wonder what it's like to have warranty on a combine.
I know. I opened myself up for that one. Thanks again, Kylie. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Listeners, until next time, have a good one.